Hey guys, it's Rick here on 23 of June. Beautiful day again here in Rock Island, Illinois. What I want to talk a little bit today is one of my favorite horror trilogies, and of course I'm a big horror fan. I put some videos out about Salem's Lot and different movies like that, but this one's my favorite trilogy, and it's the Omen trilogy. The original Omen was 1976, the second one was 78, the third one was 81. I do not count the one that was made in 1991, I think, or 90 and 91, the fourth one. That was The Awakening, because I thought that was trash. That had no point at all in the storyline, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But the trilogy, the original, that was a money-making thing, by the way, that number fourth one. It was made for TV. It was acted horribly, terrible actors. Nothing about it was done well. But the first three were just gems of horror. Very different than other trilogies. This was such a great acted, produced movies. Each one of them had veteran actor or actors that just helped the cast with a lot of new people as well. First one had the great Gregory Peck, okay? And I forget which one had Lee Remick, and I'm not sure which one it was. The first one or the second one, but they had great female actors. The second one had William Holden. And the third one had Rosanna Brazzi. And of course, it was sort of like a beginning of the great Sam Neill. Did a great job in the third one. He was kind of an unknown. Couldn't have done better as the grown-up Damien. Fantastic job. So it was well acted, all three of them. The musical scores were just beautiful. Creepy as you could imagine, all those chanting and stuff like that was prevalent through all three movies. They made a remake of it, back 15 years ago or so, of the first one, and they didn't have the creepiness of the music, and it was okay. It was the exact same story, but it wasn't have the atmosphere of that first one. But all three, what I liked about it, see, a lot of people, most people who talk about the Omens enjoyed 1 and 2, and they're on 3. Some really like 3 like me, some it's okay, and some hate 3. And I think I know why. They expected more out of 3, but I thought it was perfectly done. I don't think you could have done any more. The concept of what they were trying to do in the movies. These movies in general were not, of course, nowadays keep in mind, a lot of people when they discuss and they look at the videos, they're now. So we're so used to CGIs, big creepy demons with bat wings and fangs and teeth, so trenched in that. Sometimes I like that, depending on the movie. I very much do. That when you look back at these Omens, there was nothing like that. But that was the strength of it. For those entire 3 movies, the face of evil, the face of the devil, incredible, at that most powerful thing, was a human being. Okay? Damien. That's it. The thing about those 3 movies is, yeah, they're made up, of course, and the 7 Swords of Megiddo and all that stuff was made up. But there was so much about those 3 movies that were based on the Christian Bible. Now, that's the whole thing of the Antichrist. So if you're a Christian person like I am, I thought that was done absolutely fantastic, because they mirrored sort of like Christ's life, except Damien's life. He was 32 or 3 at the end, just like Christ. Okay? There was in the third one, Damien's trying to kill all the kids like Herod did in the Bible to try to kill Jesus. Wonderfully done. I mean, it was really, really, and very creepy. Had some of the best death scenes you'll ever seen in any horror. I mean, just shocking death scenes. And you couldn't get more creepiness. The fact that it was just Damien, just a human being with all that evil in him, was what made it so great. The one I want to specifically talk about, well, I want to talk a little bit about number 2. Number 1 was straightforward. Most people think number 1 is just a total gem, and it is. I mean, everything about that was fantastic. Not really much comments in number 1, because it was just, if it just stayed as number 1, and there was no 2 and 3, that would have been fine. But they made it 2. Now, the one thing about 2 is a lot of people talk about, different scenes. Damien starts to find out who he is, and there was some question about what would happen if he took his cousin with him? Well, exactly what happened. I'll make a comment on that. His cousin was doomed the minute he knew who Damien was. His cousin did say to Damien, the beast has no friends. He was 100% right. So even if Damien, of course, Mark goes to Mark, Damien goes to Mark, I'll take you with me. That was the little bit of human left in him. Even if Mark agreed to go with Damien, it may have prolonged his life for a number of years until they get into adults. But eventually, just like in the third one, when Damien's assistant got in his way, eventually Mark would have been eliminated somewhere in his 20s or early 30s at the most. Because eventually when Damien became an adult, he wouldn't need Mark anymore. He did, as there's no friends for the face of evil or Satan. There's no friends. So eventually, even though he had human feelings for his cousin, those have been replaced by his goal of world domination and trying to, push satanic values and stuff like that. So eventually, his cousin would have just been in the way, and that would have been the end of him anyways. So his cousin in number 2 was doomed the minute he knew Damien was. Just either now or later. Now, number 3 is the one I want to talk about a lot because that's the one that gets the criticism a lot. And I don't really know why. Because I think it was done fantastic. You got to figure by number 3, the cat's all out of the bag. Damien knows who he is. He's got his minions following him. So all that buildup in number 1 and 2 is now over. So now you have to have a storyline where Damien knows who he is and he's going for his final push of world domination, whatever that is. So I thought it was done fantastic. A lot of people wanted more. They wanted to, especially at the end, they wanted this big final fight when he meets Jesus Christ there at the end, and there's going to be angels coming out with demons and they have a big fight. Hollywood actually thought about that. If you read the history, and they canned it. I'm glad they never did it. That would have destroyed not only that movie, but all 3 movies. Because the whole concept in number 3, which is perfectly done, if you don't think it from a Christian standpoint, you're just looking for a Hollywood movie, okay, maybe it's not going to do it for you. But if you're looking at it from a Christian standpoint, that was perfectly done because Damien never had a chance. From movie 1 all the way to movie 3, he never had a chance. And he knows it in number 3. Halfway through that movie when Christ is born, the stars get together and he wakes up in his bed sweating. He says more than once. He says it the next day, and he says it when he's pissed off at his assistant. I told you every day the Nazarene lives, my forces will weaken. And they do from day 1. Everything's falling apart from that time, slowly but surely. And he knows it. And that's why he's panicking. He's trying to get all the kids born on a certain day to be killed. He thinks he's going to get the Christ child killed. Okay? He knows he's going to lose. But he's arrogant, and he's trying to fight against it, but he knows the prophecy. When he does that talk, when he goes in his private chapel, he talks about the purity of evil, paradise of pain. It's wonderfully done. That is such a great segment, one of the creepiest segments in a horror movie, just sitting there and he's praising his father, Satan. He's cutting down Christ. Very evil, but that's what you expect him to do. But it's wonderfully done. He actually envisions this paradise of pain, something you would expect him to want to impart in the earth. A lot of people say, well, how come Christ doesn't do nothing during the movie and everybody's dying and he seems to be winning to the end? Because, first of all, in a Christian concept, martyrs are going to happen. Just because Damien was eliminating people in this world doesn't mean he was able to take their souls. Okay, that's the thing. He was getting a temporary gain, but it was never going to go. And he knew that. At the end, when he gets stabbed and he dies, there's no final fight. He was never going to fight God. He was created by God. He never expected that. He plays all tough, come face me. And at the end, when he gets stabbed and he's dying, he has a smirk in his face. He goes, you've won nothing. He's arrogant to the end. And the light of Christ is on him as his human form is dying. He knew that. He knew it. There was an arrogance about him. He knew this was going to happen, but he had to do it anyways. There was no final fight. There was no way he was going to fight his God. And a lot of people say, well, that was wrong in that movie because in the first movie it says 7 swords are supposed to be, not 1. I think, let me tell you something. I think it was done perfectly. It, the swords were just a symbol. It's the faith that put him down. Just like in a vampire, you've seen it's faith. You'll need faith for that, like in Fright Night. Remember that? It's not the cross, it's the faith. Salem's Lot did the same thing. It's not the cross, it's the faith. Well, these swords are just swords. Now, of course, they don't exist. There was nothing biblical about them. It's a movie thing. But they're a symbol of faith. They're probably blessed a certain way, whatever. That's why each priest had one given to them at the beginning of the movie. It didn't take a certain amount to kill them. It wasn't that those things were any different than any other sword. It was something that was a symbol of faith. So when he gets stabbed once with him, that lady at the end, who was really didn't have a lot of faith, started to get some because she saw what was going on. And she was also mad because he had let her son die, putting him in front of the priest. So he was done. All right, that's what it was. It was just a symbol of faith. It didn't really take 7 swords, even though the old priest says that in the first one. Those things were just a symbol of something to do, just like holy water, for instance, just water blessed. Okay, that's what that was, and that's why he went down, and he went down quick. He was not going to have any chance to defeat Christ ever. He was lost from the day one when he was born in the first movie. That's what was great about the movie. You don't know that if you keep thinking something else is going to happen, you're going to see and all you see is him, just evil, gaining, thinking, oh, I'm going to defeat the odds. And then you see in the third movie, he's starting to get very nervous and scared. He acts like he's all tough, but he's very nervous and scared because he knows his demise is coming. And it does, with a whimper, because that's exactly what needed to happen. I thought those trilogies were perfect. Why is number 4 not really part of it? Because there was no need for it. The whole concept of the Antichrist, which is a biblical thing, is when Christ comes, that's the end. There's no need for a 4th one. That was just, there had no prevalence in the series at all. None at all. None whatsoever. Some people say, oh, because he wasn't stabbed with seven swords, that's why they can't. No. 4th one was a money-making garbage, lousily acted movie they made like 10 years after the 3rd one. But that's my concept of 3 movies, the Omen. Omen 1, 2, and the Final Conflict, which is number 3. I thought it was one of the best horror trilogies. You didn't need any big vampire-looking thing, bats, eyes, creeping. You never saw that. The face of evil was a human being. And there was nothing ever in cinema for horror that was even more evil than Damien Thorne. It's Rick here. Have a great day. God love you. Bye.